Hi, it's been a couple days. I've taken a break from these bikes and I did a bunch of research on what's left to do, and I gave it some thought about how I should approach the next steps, right? I just have been pushing and pushing and pushing and started to get overwhelmed, and I needed to just sit down and think about what do I do next and what do I need to do. I stated earlier, before we're even looking at all of these like secondary throttle plate removal stuff, pretty much all that there was the ECU, the stator magnets, the Barnett clutch pack, and the R6 clutch assembly. And technically the LED bolt, but I'm not even counting that because that's literally one plug, two bolts. I can do that off camera. Okay, so first thing I researched was the stator magnets. I'm probably not going to do it. And why I'm not going to do it is I found out that starting in 2005, which is the year of this yellow bike, the flywheel, what the stator magnets is attached to, is significantly lighter. It's only 4.96 pounds. Compared to '04 and earlier, they are 7.90 pounds. So 3 pound difference. Less crankshaft inertia, right, with a lighter flywheel means a faster spin up and just better performance. So we obviously want the lighter flywheel. There's not a good reason to swap them over. It would just be harming the performance of it. We want the lighter flywheel in the '05, so we're going to keep the one that's in here. I still want to pull just that cover though, just to see the condition of the magnets to make sure everything is good. Moving on, the clutch pack. The clutch pack, I decided I'm also not going to do. This clutch feels really good. There's no chatter, there's no vibrations. It's been fantastic. I've never abused it. I bought this bike at only 5,000 miles and I've put 10,000 on it and it's been great. I've known how the clutch has been the last 10,000 miles here. I don't know the condition of the clutch pack on that bike, and I don't know how many miles it's been on there or if it's been abused or any of that stuff. I feel like when it comes time to replace, I'll just buy a new one with an aftermarket clutch basket, because the problem issues with these SV bikes is the factory clutch baskets have a design problem where the clearancing is slightly off and it wears quickly, and then you start to get this really intense vibration between 2,000 and 4,000 RPM. And how people solve that is they go through this company called Works, WERKS, and Works makes a much better refined clutch basket. So I think that when that time comes, I'm just gonna buy the nice clutch basket and new clutch plates and just do that all at once. I don't need to swap over one that I know no history about to one that I do know the history of, just because it's by Barnett, right? It's not like an OEM clutch pack. I tried to look in the little oil window, right? If you, not the oil window, but if you unscrew the cap where you fill in oil, you can peek in with a flashlight and look at the clutch plates. I know it's not that much room to look, but looking between the two bikes, they looked exactly the same. I didn't see any difference, anything weird. They really looked exactly the same to me, so I decided it's not worth it. The cable clutch. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the cable clutch. I was really not wanting to do it, but I'm going to do it. I'm pretty sure the leak is actually coming from when the stator magnets were done, and because it was just resealed with that gasket. Not the gasket, but RTV. And I'm pretty sure it's just the leak from that getting onto all the cable stuff. Because when I was watching some videos about it being swapped over, there was really no introduction of anything to leak, because anything that would be leak prone would be removed. So it doesn't make sense that that's leaking. So it has to be from the stator cover. I also kind of have to do it because I messed up, and for both bikes, the hydraulic clutch line and the regular clutch cable are run around the fork, not through it. So I kind of have to remove it and then run it through the fork back. Yeah, and we'll see. I'm not sure if it'll work, but I want to get an SV650 sprocket cover because it should just clean it up and make it look nicer. I don't think it will be a direct bolt on. Maybe I'll have to drill something small for the speedo sensor, but regardless, we're going to do it. We need to do it. And that's probably what we're going to start doing today after I finish talking to you. What else? Okay, and then the front sprocket and chain, I'm not going to do. I already replaced the OEM chain and sprockets with a Vortex kit, and mine are in a better condition. At least I saw the rear sprocket and the chain were in better condition, so most likely the front sprocket will also be in better condition. But I will see it while working on the cable clutch, so that'll be the final determining factor. But most likely I'm going to keep my Vortex stuff on this yellow bike. Last but not least, it wasn't on this list, but I wanted to replace the water pump cover just because mine is like a little flaky. So I decided instead of replacing it, I'm just going to buy a new one. It cost me $20 on eBay, and that by trying to swap them over, I would have had to re-bleed the coolant on the black bike, and then that also would have just cost like $20 and time is money. So why would I do that when I could just buy a nice one off eBay? So I bought that. It's still shipping. It's on the way. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I determined with everything. Not going to do the stator magnets, not going to do the clutch pack, probably not going to do that front sprocket, but I will do the cable clutch conversion. And then after that, we'll see ECU and secondary throttle valve stuff. But right now, cable clutch. So let's get to working on that. To get to the actual cable clutch assembly, it's very simple. You just got to take off that speedo sensor, and then there's 3 bolts, 2 or 3, I don't quite remember, that you take off to remove this little cover, and everything gets exposed. Man, that leak is quite gnarly. Look at all that buildup. You can even see the metal flakes in it. What else? Oh, these teeth look pretty worn too, so like I suspected, we're gonna keep the sprockets on their respective bikes. Just gonna take another good look at how this is all assembled, and onwards we go. Almost the same process on the other side, but before we could actually take off the cover, well, I took off the speedo sensor there. Before we could take it off, we have to take off this little slave cylinder that attaches to the master cylinder for the hydraulic clutch. It's a little stubborn. You got to kind of wiggle it around back and forth just because of the suction really attaches itself, but it'll eventually come out. The drain is important because stuff will leak out. It's a hydraulic clutch. And once that's out, same story as the cable clutch cover. It's just those 3 bolts all around. Get those out and home stretch. Yeah, the teeth on this end are in a lot better condition than on the black bike. So I confirmed I'm using this sprocket. Glad I could figure that out. And now that I'm starting to take things apart, it's not as scary as I thought it would be. You just gotta take your time. What's interesting is this seems to be a factory thing to hold a cable clutch because nothing was going through there. Interesting. That's all I gotta say. Interesting. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm gonna follow the guide. I'm looking at it on my laptop over there, but I'm gonna follow the guide and see what I gotta do next. Before I could get to swapping the hydraulic line and the clutch cable, first thing I had to do was actually drain the hydraulic line. Swapping it full of fluid would probably be pretty messy, so best to do that first. I cracked open the bleeder nipple and a bunch of it squirted out after that. And once I got all the rest of that fluid out, I moved towards the front where I bled the master cylinder and got the whole assembly off the line, or I guess the line off the assembly, depends on how you're looking at it. And then I just started fidgeting with how to pull it out. It looked like the easiest way was just to pull it out from the bottom. There's a couple clips that was in, so I made sure to get those out. And once I got all those clips, it was able to come out freely. And after that, I moved on to the cable line. Very simple. It's just nuts holding the cable in. And this actually didn't have any clips, so it just slipped right out. Okay, cable stuff on both bikes is done. It's quite a simple system, I guess, unsurprisingly. Really, it's just a cable clutch, right? This, you pull that and it pulls this, which pulls the other end. I'm gonna have to take this bracket over because it's cut in a specific way to let the cable clutch work. I still have to remove all of this stuff, but I'll get to that next. I'm kind of working on both bikes at the same time, so got all that off. That's the cable clutch stuff. And I got all this off, the hydraulic clutch stuff, which, what a mess. I'm happy that I'm doing this cable clutch conversion. Doesn't look like I need to take anything from here. I think this actuating rod needs to be swapped. I remember reading that they're different lengths, so probably gonna have to swap that over. I'll confirm that once I pull all the stuff from there off. This is all good. Oh, I gotta take this bell, my lucky little bell. I've had this since my first motorcycle. Keep on going. Cables are now actually done. Yeah, levers mounted, cables are run through. I did this all off camera because it's just the exact same thing, but just in reverse that I already filmed. So, like I said, this bracket that was already here, it's interesting. I guess they just reused the casting or something for the SV650 cable clutch version, because no SV1000s came with a cable clutch, as far as I know. So it's just interesting to see that they left it here. It's probably cheaper, but that's very good for me because I was able to mount the cable clutch here. So that's all good to go. Obviously I didn't swap over all this stuff from that bike yet, but same story here. I got the hydraulic clutch ran through and the lever line went all through, and then here's the hydraulic clutch system, but all this needs to go there. So now I can finally start working on this, but it is very dirty, so I'm probably gonna pull this off and clean it along with this little bracket and that bracket. Not like crazy good clean job, but you know, at least get the majority of this grime out. Why would I carry over grime? Removing the worm gear was super straightforward, literally 2 gears, and I dropped it in the pan along with the other couple things that I wanted to clean. Started with the worm gear, just working on that and the bolts attached to it. Nothing really crazy, just spraying it with some brake cleaner and really getting in there with a paper towel. Like I said earlier, I don't want to go super fancy. I just want to get some basic cleaning done, just the majority of the grime. Once I did that, I moved to the actual cover. Just the back plate of it had a lot of stuff that flinged on there. And I took a look at the 2 actuation rods. They were, in fact, different sizes, so I cleaned them up and swapped them to their respective systems. And once I got that swapped, it was just pretty much a matter of assembling everything back together. I luckily didn't really forget how to assemble it back since I just did it 5 minutes before. My short-term memory isn't it's not really that bad, knock on wood. And yeah, moved on to the other system, got the hydraulic stuff in and the covers, and everything was golden. All done. All mounted, speedo sensors back on. Everything's good. This is all good. I just need to bleed this, but I'm gonna do that when I also bleed the brakes for this bike too, because I might as well do it all at once. For the cable clutch, it's pretty much done. You know, if I press on the lever, it rotates. I just need to adjust it. So that's why I haven't put this back on, because I want to finish adjusting it and then I'll mount this little cover. I don't have much left to do. We can finally check off clutch assembly and cable clutch conversion. So that's everything done in control. Everything but the bulb and body and accessories. And now this stuff. Hopefully not too terrible. We shall see. Spoiler alert, it was terrible. And before I explain why and the resolution, really quickly, got the throttle cables hooked up on this black bike, which was such a pain without having to deal with the secondary throttle valve. So I am not even, I'm not even prepared for doing it on that one, but these ones are good, just sticky. So need to fix that. But yeah, why was it terrible? Okay, so it wasn't horribly terrible, but disappointing, I guess, would be the correct way to define this. I'll make this pretty brief because I feel like I've just been talking more than working in this video. Engine side of things, pretty much all I had left to do was the secondary throttle plates, eliminating the airbox, the secondary throttle valves removed, pair system delete, and the ECU. And before I jumped into that, I was doing some research. I was thinking to myself, why do I even need to remove the secondary throttle valves? What's the benefit to it? Is it going to really improve that much in performance? And so I did some research, and on my other monitor here, I found this thread on the SV forums. Basically, to summarize it, you get a minimal increase in power and response, but a negative impact on cold starts and gas mileage, and you also get like a bad low RPM throttle response. So some may argue that those are really minor things, and just having that benefit of increased power and response is worth dealing with bad cold starts and gas mileage. But the thing is, I kind of daily drive my yellow SV. I take it to work all the time. I need to get up in the morning and cold start and make sure it's all good and ready to go. I don't want to deal with having to manually rev up the throttle and stuff in the mornings every single morning as I'm heading to work, especially with winter coming around the corner. Winter. It's California. There really isn't a winter here. Anyways, I just thought about it and I was like, it's not worth even doing all of that because I want reliable cold starts. So, cool. I will just take the Power Commander 3 ECU. Well, off camera, I was looking at how it was wired in, and the reason it was so difficult for me before was because it looks like just a bunch of wiring was chopped and spliced together so the ECU can work with the secondary throttle valves being removed. So it's pretty much a paired system. If I want to remove all the secondary throttle valves, I need to take all this like oddly chopped wiring along with the ECU. So it's not worth it. I hate to admit it, but I'm just not going to pull the secondary throttle valves or the ECU, which is a bit of a relief because now I can just finally do minor things like bleeding the brakes. And you saw the last clip, I hooked up the throttle cables, and we're done with the black SV, which is kind of my main priority right now. I just want to get rid of it, make sure it's nice and solid, and then list it for sale so then I can fully focus my attention on the yellow SV, because that's absolutely the last thing that I needed to pull off of the black SV. Yeah, so anyways, back to garage Roman. It's yet another day. I'm just doing this a little bit day by day and piecing it all in one video. Anyways, I got the throttle cable all hooked up and loosened now, so it's good to go. And I was trying to start it yesterday, and this was very stupid of me, but I had a battery tender hooked up to the wall, right? So I was trying to start it with this battery tender, and when I turned it on, the gauge cluster, it just completely went out, right? And I was like, damn it, I broke something, but I just popped the signal fuse, and I just checked it. That was my thought, and I was correct. I popped the signal fuse. So I just got to switch that out so I could make this work again, because I don't know why I would think of starting it while it's getting charged. Obviously, that trips something out, so swapping that out and then trying to get it started. Oh my god, what a relief. I was worried that something went wrong because when I popped the fuse and I was trying to crank it, it would crank and not start, and well, maybe because I had it plugged into the outlet, but anyways, we're pretty much almost done with this bike. We just need to bleed the brakes, torque some bolts, and do a chain adjustment. Before I do that, I'm gonna get all the fairings on, like that lower belly pan and the side fairings and the seats. And then I need to finally plug in that non-LED bulb that came originally from this bike to make sure that they're swappable. I don't see why they wouldn't be, but now that I can start it, I can have it plugged in, started, and see it working that way. This was definitely the easiest job out of everything I've done so far. The back little passenger cover plastic piece just went on by clipping it on. No bolts at all. You just push it down. The seat is literally, you kind of slide in and then 2 bolts there. So that's super simple. I only had the left side carbon fiber piece, and that was same thing, slide in and 1 bolt. And then the lower fairing is, can you believe it, 4 bolts. So a little more difficult. Then I did lights, which was easy. So I got this temporary plugged in. I was getting ready to start it, and it just works without me starting it. So there's the high, there's the low. So I wonder if that's the same case with this one, and something was just up with the wiring. Huh. Okay, let me check out this one. Okay, so I initially tried to put the LED bulb in here and just turned the key, and it didn't work. So I put the regular bulb back in here, turned the key. It does not work. And I put the LED bulb back in here, turn the key, it works. So maybe there's some like bypass wired in here that lets the LED work with just the key on rather than started. Maybe something's up with this one. I guess I just really have to start this and then see if the bulb works. I didn't have anything plugged in. Oh my God. Well, yeah, of course it didn't work, because literally the yellow and black harnesses here were just not plugged in. So yeah, that's good to know. That's working. Brights are working. Turn signals are working. I remember there's still that thing with the... Oh my God, yeah, that's working. I remember that wasn't working. It's because it wasn't plugged in. Oh my God, how could I be so stupid? That's a relief, though. That is a relief. Now that I know these 2 bulbs are working, I can actually start to fully mount those headlights back on. So that's what I'm going to do next. But before we do that, just look at the difference. I'm glad I finally have an LED here too, because it'll match the rear LED taillights I have for this bike. So now it's fully LED. And you know, it just looks nicer and more modern. All done. I didn't film a hyperlapse or anything because it's pretty straightforward. It's just plugging it in and putting 2 screws in. This one, it gave me a little trouble mounting the LED bulb just because it's thicker, but I bent the headlight mount little bracket that holds it in, and it was fine after that. Also, I forgot to mention, before I even swapped the whole fuse, I ended up rearranging everything and mounting these properly, so this is all good to go because it was kind of loose and oddly mounted. This one I haven't really done so yet, just because once it's good to go, then I can finally adjust it how it's needed. But check out these bulbs. Boom. This guy looks great. Got the LED one in the back. Turn signals are working. Also LED. Ooh. So good to see that. Always love seeing visual progress. This one's working too. It's a shame. The LED bulb really does make a difference in my eyes. Just makes it look so much nicer. But yes, this one's all good too. So I guess we can start bleeding brakes or something. Move this one out of the way so our full attention can go to this black bike. We can just fully focus on this until its completion, just because everything that I guess we could, we have pulled off this one. I'm still a little upset that I'm not grabbing the ECU, but it is what it is. You know, I don't want to pull all that over. I already explained that. I don't have to explain that again. I got this one up because we'll also have to adjust the chain and alignment for this bike, and then lube the chain too, so it's just good to have that up. And we need to bleed the clutch and both of these brakes, and then torque everything down, and finally torque it once the bike is down. And then this one is fully done. We'll be finished with it, just we'll have to clean it, and then we can list it for sale. And while it's just sitting, waiting to be sold, Then we can start working on this yellow bike. But yeah, as of now, we're just gonna work on this black one. So hopefully I have some .4 brake fluid. I will check. And then we can start bleeding the brakes and clutch on this. Hydraulic lines are bled. Clutch is feeling nice and firm. Brake lever, also nice and firm. Throttle's good, we already knew that. And this guy's feeling good too. So, nice. That's all bled. I need to adjust the chain, torque bolts. I think that's it. Kind of excited to ride this now. I just, I hope I don't fall in love with this one. That'd be a little awkward. Sorry. Anyways, that's all I'm gonna do today. I got some other stuff to do, so that's it for today. Another day, another dollar. Chain adjustment and rear tire adjustment. That's all we needed. Alignment. That's all we need to do here. This time, I'm actually wearing a glove, so we'll see how dirty my hand actually gets. Probably won't make a difference. Knowing me, I'm gonna rip a hole in it and get my hand dirty right away. Nothing much to say. I'm just gonna do it and then torque some bolts and we're done. We are done. Sorry guys, I completely spaced out. Before I started filming, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do a couple things, and before I knew it, I just did everything without filming. So, you didn't miss much though. Basically, there are these nuts here that you loosen, and you're able to move this one to move this back and forth, and then you keep it aligned. There's like notches. Can you tell I lubed the chain too, and it splattered everywhere while I was running? She's great. She's ready to go. Oh, well, not quite. I'm gonna torque some stuff down, but you don't need to see that. That's pretty boring. It's just cling, cling, cling as I get all the values down, and I gotta go back and forth between the online manual to see the torque values. That's gonna be it for this video. I'm really happy to see this complete. I'm gonna call up a guy I know to do a quick detail on it, and yeah, I'll be listing it for sale. We'll talk about it next vid. Take care.